Hey everybody, it's Lisa. I'm one of the admins at the Silhouette Cameo Beginners Newbie Hangout group on Facebook. I also run a business called The Vintage Gypsy. I make custom signs, custom t-shirts, things like that. Ever have any questions, give me a holler. You've probably seen some of my paint videos on the page. I just installed version 4 again and did the firmware update. I'm going to show you a little bit about version 4, not a whole lot, just a little bit. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you have version 4. So I'm going to double click on my Silhouette Studio here. When it comes up and it brings up the splash screen that is the cherry tree branch, that is version 4. That's how you know you're in version 4. Version 3 does not look like this at all. It's completely different. Typically, the first thing that's going to pop up is your recovered documents, which is no different than version 3, except the screen is smaller. These are floating panels. Basically, they float around. You can drag them and move them around. That's all that means. It's very similar to using Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. It has these kind of floating panels here. So I'm going to close that out. One of the first things I want to show you what has changed is this toolbar that used to be at the top and it had like the trace feature, the font, all that kind of stuff. Well, it is only done, it's just shifted down here to the side. They've just flipped it around. So now instead of going to our library to get to the store, we have everything right here. Your design page, the store. The store, you want to make sure if you're buying things, make sure, see, it's wanting me to sign into my cloud. So I'm going to say next, next. Yes, it just tells you all about it. I'm signed into cloud. Typically, if you have a 3, you are signed into the cloud. Don't look at my password. I know you can't see it. I'm just saying. But that's where all your designs are going to hide. See right here, this means it's syncing. This is from the local user, so stuff that I've saved on my laptop to it. But I have 1,400 designs. So make sure you're in your cloud to look for designs. Nothing's going to pop up unless I search. So if I look for dog, these are all my designs with the dog in it. Okay. Over here, where it says signed in as Lisa Faber, this is how you know you're signed into the cloud. If you're not, you can double click on your name and it'll allow you to sign in. What it does is it syncs the cloud. Everything goes into the cloud, lives up in the cloud somewhere, and any computer you're on that has your design edition or the regular edition or business edition, you can access all your designs. That's all that means. I typically save my personal designs that I make to my hard drive. I don't save them to the library because sometimes they don't live there when I do updates and things like that. So, okay, so we have design page, the Silhouette store, the library. Then we have our send button. That means just send my design over to the Silhouette Cameo. I think there's more steps now to sending it, but this send button now is more geared toward people that are new and may not know how to do it. Okay, what I'm going to show you is in version 3, I did a video showing everybody how to set up their preferences. You need to check yours because if you have installed your software and you never did your preferences, that could be some of the issues that you're having with your software as well. So I'm going to show you what they should look like, and you need to go in and adjust those. It's kind of similar to version 3, where the folks that have version 3, jump out to YouTube, look up Lisa Faber, and I have a preferences video in there for version 3. Okay, so you're going to go to your gear, or you can go up to edit preferences. They do the same thing. So I'm going to go to my gear. What this means is by general, it's going to pick the default language. We're going to be English because of where we live. Depending on where you live, it'll be default. My saved default location for all my designs are going to my hard drive, not my library. That is my choice. I want to show my increments and measurements in inches. If you need centimeters or meters, this is where you change that default setting. Show dimensions, that means show me how big things are on the screen. So like if I select a design, it shows you the numbers on how big it is. So your print resolution is going to be 300 dpi, which is a good one. That's what you want it to be on. Okay. Go to your defaults. Page orientation, it's going to choose automatically depending on what it thinks that you're trying to put in there. I like my default fill style to be a solid fill because I always cut by color. So this helps me. I don't have to keep switching it back and forth. Always display your mat. This is a big one right here. Make sure this is checked because if most of you have noticed when you check the cut line, it doesn't cut all the way to the 12 inches on the sides or all the way to the 12 inches or 24 inches at the bottom. This allows you to get more real estate on that mat. You can cut all the way to the edge of the mat. Registration marks, I leave off. The center of rotation, if you guys have ever seen that little bullseye that shows up in the middle of your design, that when you click on the middle of your design, it drags the little arrows around, that is the center of rotation. Turn it off. Uncheck these. Now, the panels, what that means is I can have multiple panels at once. I can have one panel at one time, which means if I click on another panel, it disappears. Or I can have flexible panel mode. You play with which one that you like that's best for you. Right now, I've been doing multiple panel mode. I like that. Silhouette device connections. That means do not auto-release my connections. So if my Cameo is sitting here and it thinks I'm not using it, it will automatically release it from my software. I don't want that. Auto-release. I don't want any of that. I'm going to leave that just the way it is. Okay? So that's general and defaults. The next tab is display. I don't worry about this first one. Current theme is white. All that means is if you watch my screen and I change it to gray and I hit OK, it's going to change just these colors. That's all it's going to do. Then you go back to your gear and your preferences, and we're in display. This actually used to be like pink, purple, turquoise, yellow, but they got rid of all that, so it's kind of boring now. My background color, which is here, I can change that. Current theme, it says the Windows theme, but that has never applied that I have noticed. So if I change both of mine to dark and I hit OK, see how my screen changes? So it's all on a preference of how you want to view it. So I'm going to go back to my gear. I'm in display. I'm going to change it back to white. Let's do gray. That way you guys can see what the difference is. Hit OK. All right, and this is what it looks like. Typically, this is probably what most of yours looks like right now. So go back to your gear. Gear or edit preferences gets you into edit your preferences for your software. So you can kind of tweak it to customize it to you. Kind of like Burger King, you can have it your way, a little bit like that. Okay, back in display. This is the button size. How big do you want these buttons to be? So I can make them bigger. So if I go to large and click OK, see how big they got? But then you have to click on this to go down to the other ones. A lot of these I don't use. The only thing I wish you could do is I wish you could drag these and move them. But see, I don't think you can. Oh, can I? Let me try again. Making sure I'm not seeing things here. No. I wish you could move these around. Because I'd like my rhinestone button over here for stuff I don't use all the time. But anyway, I got sidetracked. I got excited. So go back to your preferences. We're in display. This is where you make your buttons bigger or smaller for people like me that can't see. Animation is just how fast things move. I leave it there. Curve quality, that has to do with the font display. I wouldn't mess with that. Just leave it alone. Import. So if you do GSD, DFX, or SF or SVGs, it just says it's going to come in centered in the middle of your mat. Convert all the white lines to black lines and join all the polylines. Instead of having all the separate entities, all these lines that are separate, you don't have to connect them or merge them. I'd leave everything the way it is here. Then we're going to go to Tools. Now this is a big deal here. If you've ever gone in and drawn a shape, and yours may say continue drawing shapes. What that means, let me show you. So after creating shapes, continue to draw shapes. I'm going to do a shape, and it does this. And then you're like, how crap do I get out of here? This is how you do it. Go back to your preferences, go to Tools. Now I want to choose Select. So every time I draw a shape, use the eraser or the knife or the zoom or whatever. See, I want to change this. I want to choose Select. After using zoom, choose Select. So now if I hit OK, this is the difference. Drawing a shape. See, and now I can select stuff instead of having that annoying thing there. All right, makes sense? Go back to your gear, and we're in Tools. Okay, so when drag selecting, that means when you hold your mouse down and select everything, select shapes touching the drag box. Select shapes enclosed in the drag box. That's the one I would like. Okay. When many shapes are selected, do a single bounding box. That means it puts one big box around it versus individual boxes. So if you had like 10 squares, they would have 10 boxes around them versus one big box around all of them. So when right-clicking subsequent shapes, the new shape becomes selected. You can just play with it and see which one you like. I would like my original shape to be selected. Okay, show the Bezier control handles. What that big fancy word means is it's the little, when you click your design, there's little boxes on the corner. Those are called Beziers, and it moves your design smaller or bigger. That's all that means. And I want to show my Beziers for all points. I want to be able to adjust it or edit them how I want to. When using subtract or subtract all, maintain thick lines as lines. When using the eraser or knife, maintain thick lines as lines. I don't want to convert them to polygons or shapes. So leave these the way they are. Okay, flip over to advanced. We do not touch anything in here except one thing. You want to make sure your packet size is down to 500 bytes versus 1000. If you are having a lot of crashing with your software, version 3 or version 4, this is possibly why. Too much information is trying to be crammed through in the software and it can't think, so therefore it shuts down. So version 3 or version 4, go in here and make sure that this packet size is changed to 500 bytes. Okay? I leave everything else alone, and you can either hit OK or apply. It'll do the same thing. Okay? That's basically a quick, rough setup of how to do your preferences. That's the first thing you guys need to go in and do is do your preferences. Now I'm going to try and do some videos to show you that much hasn't changed up here, but we're going to go over these buttons. This is where people are getting lost. I still get lost, so it'll help me learn with you at the same time. All right, you guys have a great day. I hope these videos will help you. I will talk to you later. If you have questions, just holler. Tag us on our Facebook group, either me or Kylan. Doesn't matter. We'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. I will talk to you ladies and gentlemen later. Bye-bye.